It was a typical Wednesday evening when my phone rang and the voice on the other end of the line told me something I never expected to hear. It was my wife's friend, and she was calling me to express her concern about my wife's recent behavior. My wife wasn't home. I didn't know where she was at the time. I got this phone call. She told me that my wife had been having an affair with a man and a woman. My mind went blank. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The woman on the other end of the line continued talking, telling me that my wife had been seeing the couple for several months and that they had gone on day trips together while I was at work. I thanked her for her concern, but I was in shock. I couldn't believe that my wife, the woman I had been married to for 5 years, could be capable of such betrayal. I didn't want to believe it when she got home. I confronted my wife about what her friend had told me. She immediately denied everything, saying that it was all a misunderstanding. She tried to convince me that her friend was making things up or exaggerating. I wanted to believe her, but there was a nagging feeling in the back of my mind that something was off. I couldn't shake the suspicion that she was lying to me. We went back and forth for hours, and she was adamant that she had not cheated on me. She was upset that her friend had spread such vicious rumors, and I could see the pain in her eyes. Over the next few days, I began to pay closer attention to my wife's behavior. She had been spending a lot of time on her phone and computer, and her demeanor had changed. She was more distant and seemed preoccupied. I started to question her about her whereabouts and who she was talking to, but she always had an answer that seemed to satisfy me. However, the suspicion lingered, and I began to feel like I was going crazy. I felt like I was living in a constant state of paranoia, always second-guessing myself and my wife's behavior. One day I decided that I had to find out the truth. I started to investigate on my own, trying to piece together any clues or evidence that might confirm my suspicions. I checked her social media accounts, email and text messages, but I didn't find anything incriminating. I was about to give up when I remembered that I had installed a GPS tracker on the new car I had bought for her. It was something I had done without telling her, just as a precautionary measure, but I had forgotten about it until now. I logged onto the GPS tracking website and was shocked to see the data that had been collected. My wife had been going to a hotel on the other side of the town frequently, and the tracker showed that she had stayed there overnight. On several occasions, she claimed to have gone to her parents' house to visit them, which is about 15 minutes from where her parents live. My heart sank. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I felt sick to my stomach. My mind raced with questions. Who was she meeting at the hotel? What were they doing together? How could she do this to me? I knew I had to confront my wife with this new evidence. I waited for her to come home. And when she did, I told her what I had found. She couldn't deny it anymore. She broke down in tears and confessed to everything. She had been having an affair with a man and a woman, and they were taking day trips. But in the back of my mind, where were the kids? I was numb. My entire world had fallen apart in just a few days. How could the woman I loved do this to me? How could she throw our marriage away like that? I was devastated by her confession. But I still wanted to know more. I asked her why she had done this, and she told me that she had been feeling unhappy and unfulfilled in our marriage. She said that she had been looking for something more exciting and fulfilling. And that's when she met the couple. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. How could she say that we had been happier? So, I thought I was angry, hurt and confused. The pain of betrayal was overwhelming. I felt like my entire world had been turned upside down. I couldn't believe that someone I had trusted completely had betrayed me in such a cruel way. I was completely devastated. I had always believed that we had a strong and loving marriage. But now I realized that it was all a lie. I cried myself to sleep every night and struggled to get through each day. My anger towards my wife and the couple she had been cheating with was intense. I wanted to lash out and hurt them the way they had hurt me. I felt like my entire life had been upended and I couldn't understand why my wife had done this to me. I struggled to contain my rage and to find a way to move forward. It was a dark time in my life and I didn't know how I was going to get through it in the days that followed. I knew that I couldn't stay in the marriage any longer. I had to think about what was best for myself and our children. I decided to file for divorce and start the process of separating our lives. It was a difficult decision to make, but I knew that it was the right one. The biggest challenge in the divorce was fighting for custody of our 2 kids. My wife didn't work, so she had a lot of time to devote to them. But I was determined to be the best parent I could be and fight for their well-being. I knew that I had to do everything in my power to make sure they were safe and happy. I hired a lawyer and prepared myself for a long and difficult legal battle. The legal battle was long and grueling. We fought over everything from property to visitation rights. It was an emotionally draining process and it felt like it would never end. But I knew that I had to stay strong and focused if I wanted to achieve the outcome that was best for me and my children. I spent countless hours in courtrooms going over documents and meeting with my lawyer. It was a stressful time in my life, but I knew that I had to stay focused. My ex-wife was not awarded any alimony, but when she moved out of our apartment, she did take half of her belongings with her and we ended up with 50-50 custody of the kids throughout the divorce process. I was grateful for the support of my friends. They were there for me when I needed someone to talk to and they helped me to keep my spirits up. Their kindness and empathy were a lifeline. During some of the darkest days of my life, I leaned on them heavily during the legal battle and they never let me down. I realized how important it was to have a support system in place. During difficult times, the impact of the divorce on our kids was tough. They didn't understand why their parents couldn't stay together and it was heartbreaking to see them in pain. I tried to be there for them as much as possible. But I knew that there was only so much I could do to ease their suffering. I made sure that they had a therapist to talk to and that they had a strong support system in place. I wanted to make sure that they knew that they were loved and that the divorce wasn't their fault. It was a difficult time for all of us, but we were able to get through it together to help our kids through the transition. We started family therapy. It was a slow process, but it helped us all heal. We learned how to communicate more effectively, how to cope with our emotions and how to move forward after the trauma of the divorce. We also learned how to work together as a family and how to support each other through difficult times. Therapy was a game changer for us and it helped us to become stronger as a family. After the divorce was finalized, I had to start a new life. It was scary and uncertain, but I knew I had to move on. I started to focus on building a new career, spending time with friends and finding joy in the little things in life. It wasn't easy, but I knew that it was the only way to move forward. I started to appreciate the freedom that came with being single. And I took advantage of new opportunities that presented themselves. I was determined to make the most of my new life. Dating after divorce was a challenge. I had to learn how to trust again and how to be vulnerable with someone new. It was a slow process. But eventually I met someone who made me feel happy and loved. It was a fresh start and I was grateful for the opportunity to find love again. I was more cautious this time around. But I also knew that I couldn't let my past hinder me when dating a new love interest. I also learned that sometimes even the most seemingly perfect relationships can fall apart. But most importantly, I learned that I was strong enough to survive. Even the toughest of times I learned that I was capable of moving on and building a new life for myself. After time had passed, I began to realize that forgiveness was important for my own healing. Holding on to anger and resentment was only hurting myself and I needed to let go of those negative emotions. Forgiveness wasn't about letting my ex-wife off the hook or forgetting what she had done, but about releasing myself from the pain and anger that was holding me back. It was a hard road to travel down. But eventually I was able to forgive my ex-wife and the couple she had been involved with. It wasn't easy, but I knew that it was necessary for my own peace of mind and well-being. Now I look towards the future with hope and excitement. I have learned from my past mistakes and I'm ready to start a new chapter in my life. I am grateful for my children and the love and support of my friends and family. And I am excited to see what the future holds. The experience has taught me that life is unpredictable and that we never know what is around the corner. But I also know that I am a survivor and fighter and that I can handle whatever comes in my way. I am excited to embrace new opportunities, make new memories and continue to grow as a person. The future is bright and I am ready to embrace it with open arms. After all this turmoil was over with, my father actually told me I dodged a bullet. I didn't have to pay her any alimony. And I get to still see my kids. My dad said in most cases, even if you are a wonderful father, most of the time the ex-wives end up with full custody of the kids, in my opinion. Yes, he was quite lucky on both fronts. No alimony. And he wasn't married over 10 years to where his pension or any significant financial assets were at risk until next time.